Ladies and gentlemen, love yourself first, not because the world failed to love you, but because you deserve it even when the world does not understand you. Many times we wait for someone to choose us, appreciate us, or save us. But life teaches us a quiet lesson. The day you choose yourself, everything begins to change. Loving yourself is choosing yourself without guilt, and this is one of the hardest things a human being ever learns. From a young age, we are taught to please others, to be available, to adjust, to stay quiet so no one feels uncomfortable. Slowly, without realizing it, we learn to put ourselves last. We start believing that choosing ourselves is selfish, that saying no is rude, that taking a break is weakness. We carry guilt for resting, guilt for setting boundaries, guilt for walking away, guilt for not being everything for everyone. Over time, this guilt becomes so normal that we forget how heavy it is, until one day our heart feels tired for no clear reason. Choosing yourself does not mean you stop loving others. It means you stop abandoning yourself to earn love. It means you listen to your inner voice when it whispers that something is not right. It means you honor your limits instead of crossing them again and again just to keep people comfortable. Many people stay in places that drain them, conversations that hurt them, and relationships that break them slowly, only because they feel guilty leaving. They forget that staying where you are not respected also costs something. It costs your peace, your confidence, your joy. Guilt often comes when you grow. When you begin to change, when you start protecting your time, your energy, and your mental space, some people will not like it. Not because you are wrong, but because they were benefiting from your silence and sacrifice. Loving yourself means accepting that not everyone will understand your choices, and that understanding is not required for your healing. You do not need to explain your boundaries to people who never respected them in the first place. There are moments when choosing yourself feels lonely. When you stop overgiving, some people disappear. When you stop chasing, some connections fade. This can hurt deeply, but it also reveals the truth. Anyone who only stays when you are emptying yourself was never there for you. They were there for what you provided. Loving yourself is learning to sit with that loneliness without running back to old patterns just to feel needed. Choosing yourself without guilt also means forgiving yourself for past choices, for staying too long, trusting too much, ignoring red flags, or doubting your own worth. You were not weak, you were hopeful. You were not foolish, you were trying to survive with the tools you had. Self-love grows when you stop punishing yourself for lessons that were necessary for your growth. Sometimes choosing yourself is as simple as resting when your body asks for rest, speaking up when something hurts, or saying no without giving long explanations. Sometimes it is walking away from what once felt like home, because it no longer feels safe. Sometimes it is starting again, even when you are scared, even when you feel late, even when others question your path. Loving yourself without guilt is a quiet courage. It is choosing peace over approval, truth over comfort, and self-respect over fear of loss. It is understanding that your needs matter, your feelings are valid, and your life is not meant to be lived on pause for others. It is waking up one day and realizing that you deserve the same kindness you give so freely to everyone else, and slowly learning to give it to yourself, even when it feels unfamiliar, even when your hands shake, even when the guilt tries to pull you back into old versions of yourself. You don't need permission to value your own heart, yet most people live as if they do. From the beginning, we are conditioned to seek approval before we trust our feelings. We look around to see if it is acceptable to feel hurt, to feel tired, to feel proud of ourselves. If others agree, we allow it. If they don't, we silence ourselves. Slowly, the heart learns to wait not for healing, but for validation, and this waiting becomes a habit that disconnects us from our own truth. Valuing your heart means listening to it even when no one else does. It means accepting your emotions without judging them as too much or too weak. Many people learn to doubt their feelings because they were told they were overreacting, being sensitive, or making things difficult. Over time, this teaches the heart to shrink, to stay quiet, to hide its pain behind smiles. But feelings do not disappear when ignored. They settle deeper, shaping the way we see ourselves and the world. When you stop asking for permission, you begin to trust your inner voice. You start believing that your discomfort is a signal, not a flaw. You understand that pain is not something to be compared or dismissed. Just because someone else has it worse does not mean your struggle is invalid. Your heart carries your story, and no one else has lived it the way you have. Valuing it is an act of honesty with yourself. Many people stay in situations that hurt them because they are waiting for someone else to confirm that it is okay to leave. They wait for a sign, a message, an apology that may never come. In the process, they silence their own needs. Valuing your heart means recognizing that you are allowed to walk away without a dramatic reason. Peace does not need to be justified, and self-respect does not require permission. There is fear attached to valuing your heart, fear of being misunderstood, labeled, or judged. Society often praises sacrifice more than self-awareness. People are celebrated for enduring pain silently, not for choosing themselves. This creates a false belief that suffering is proof of strength. But true strength is listening to yourself before the damage becomes permanent. Valuing your heart also means allowing it to change. The things that once felt right may no longer fit who you are becoming. Growth often feels like betrayal to others, but it is loyalty to yourself. You are allowed to outgrow spaces, roles, and expectations that no longer align with your inner truth. You do not owe consistency to anyone at the cost of your well-being. When you stop seeking permission, you stop explaining yourself endlessly. You stop defending your feelings to people who never tried to understand them. You learn that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Some people only listen to respond, not to care. Valuing your heart includes protecting it from places where it is constantly questioned or minimized. This journey is not loud. It does not always come with confidence or clarity. Sometimes it begins with quiet discomfort, a feeling that something is off. Sometimes it is a tear you cannot explain, or a heaviness that stays longer than it should. Valuing your heart means honoring these signals instead of ignoring them. It means choosing self-trust over external approval, even when that choice feels uncomfortable, unfamiliar, and lonely at first. Self-love begins where self-blame ends, yet many people live trapped in a cycle of blaming themselves for everything that goes wrong. When something breaks, when a relationship fails, when a dream does not work out, the first instinct is often to look inward and accuse the heart of not being enough. We replay old moments in our minds, questioning every word we said, every decision we made, believing that if we had been different, things would have turned out better. Over time, this habit of self-blame becomes a quiet form of punishment that we carry without realizing how deeply it shapes our identity. Self-blame often starts as a way to make sense of pain. When life feels out of control, blaming yourself can feel safer than accepting that some things were never in your hands. It gives an illusion of control, as if hurting yourself emotionally could somehow rewrite the past. But this kind of thinking slowly erodes self-trust. Instead of learning from experiences, you start condemning yourself for them. Growth turns into shame, and lessons turn into labels you attach to your worth. Ending self-blame does not mean avoiding responsibility. It means separating mistakes from identity. You can acknowledge where you went wrong without believing that you are wrong as a person. Many people confuse accountability with self-criticism, thinking they must be harsh to improve. In reality, cruelty never creates healing. Compassion is what allows honest reflection without destroying the spirit. There are wounds that were not created by your choices, but by circumstances, by other people's limitations, by environments that did not know how to hold you. Yet the mind keeps asking why you stayed, why you trusted, why you didn't see it coming. These questions assume you had clarity you only gained later. Self-love grows when you accept that you made decisions based on what you knew then, not what you know now. Letting go of self-blame also means releasing unrealistic expectations. Many people carry guilt for not being strong all the time, for needing help, for feeling tired. They compare themselves to an ideal version they never allowed to be human. This comparison creates constant disappointment. When you stop blaming yourself for being human, you make space for gentleness. You allow rest without guilt and effort without punishment. The voice of self-blame is often learned. It echoes words you once heard from others, criticism that was repeated until it felt like truth. Over time, it becomes familiar, even comforting, because it feels known. Ending self-blame requires noticing this voice and questioning it. Not every thought deserves belief. Some thoughts are just old habits asking for attention. Self-love begins when you replace harsh judgment with understanding. Instead of asking what is wrong with you, you ask what happened to you. This shift changes everything. It turns shame into curiosity and pain into awareness. You begin to see your reactions not as flaws, but as responses to experiences that shaped you. As self-blame loosens its grip, you start trusting yourself again. You stop living in constant apology to your past. You learn that healing does not require you to punish yourself into becoming better. It asks you to forgive the versions of you that were trying to survive, even when they made imperfect choices, even when they failed, even when they didn't know how to protect themselves yet. Protecting your peace is not weakness, it is wisdom, yet many people are taught the opposite. They are taught that endurance is strength, that staying quiet is maturity, and that tolerating discomfort is a sign of good character. Over time, this belief convinces people to stay in situations that slowly drain them, relationships that confuse them, and environments that silence their voice. They mistake survival for strength and exhaustion for loyalty. Peace is often misunderstood as something